Welcome back, everyone. This is the NBA 2K Corner 3 show. I am Braxton Angle, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by friend of the show, Thomas Lynch. What's going on, Thomas?
Hey Braxton, how are you? I'm really happy to be back on here.
Man, I am so happy to. I had to take a really long, way too long hiatus from doing 2K content. Just other things getting bogged down with the game house, so content creation had to take a back seat. But I was able to get to one of the days for the tip-off tournament. Super excited about the league, especially after the tournament and some of the basketball we saw.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. It was great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the season brings.
Exactly. I guess we'll just start with overall thoughts from the tournament. Um, I think it was great as an opening event to get as many teams playing each other as possible to see matchups between high profile players, matchups between teams who are built like teams, which seem to be an easy path to success. If you built your team like a team instead of around one great player, you advanced into the final cut. So, what were your overall
Yeah,
thoughts from the tournament?
I loved it. Yeah, I was a really big fan. I didn't get to watch as many games as I was hoping to, just with the time difference. I only got to watch maybe one or two games each night, and I only watched two of the playoff games, which is kind of a shame. But I really wish I could see the live atmosphere from the finals. It looked like such a crazy game.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I haven't. I certainly won't be watching all those games. I went back and watched a couple as I was putting notes together, but like, no, I'm not. I can't watch all 34 games that they played. I don't have
Yeah,
enough time in the day to do that. But I was able to
yeah,
watch almost all of the finals on Saturday. Couple of blowouts, which I was surprised with. Not because like teams got blown out, but in the style in which they did. The two big ones being like Pacers in the first round, and then Mavs in the second round, which I thought
yeah.
was really interesting. Um, I guess we can start off. Who was the team? Well, let's just start. Let's start at a downer. Who was a team that sort of disappointed you? Didn't live up to your expectations headed into this tip-off tournament?
Um, I'd have to say the Heat. I feel like I had high expectations. I know they've got famous as the team operations manager. So I had really high hopes for them, and obviously Majestic and Hotshot as their two main players. I thought they'd do really well, and not that they didn't do terribly, but I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind they were in a pretty tough group. I think they called it the death group on that Friday,
Yeah,
playing with
yeah,
Pacers, Celtics, Mavs. They were fortunate enough to get the Grizz in group play, so they scooped up a win there.
yeah,
But I mean, they had some tough matchups, so I don't think that's the best they had to offer. But I feel the same way. I was a little disappointed with the showing the Heat put on display, especially when you talk
yeah. I wouldn't
about.
take it.
Oh no, excuse me, you're
Sorry,
good. Go for it.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't take it away from them. Like they have a lot of potential. I feel like in the regular season now that they're not playing all together in one big block, they'll have time to practice, do some scouting and things like that. So they'll probably improve massively for the regular season.
And if I had to pick a team other than the Heat, I wasn't disappointed, but I was surprised with the Kings.
Oh
Like that
yeah,
team, I was talking about like that team's just way too talented to be 1 and 2 and not make the cut. But
yeah.
and I couldn't verify this. I remember there was an announcement about wasn't Moody? Isn't he like the player coach or something to that effect?
I don't remember seeing that anywhere, but it could be true now.
That's okay.
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up. That's on me for not knowing that. Like, if he is in fact the player coach and has to coach that team, like, good luck to
Yeah,
him because there were coaches whose only job was to coach, and they didn't really make a whole
yeah,
lot of adjustments in the tournament. So, if that's his role, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, probably for the first 4 weeks, until he figures out
yeah,
if that's his responsibility, until he figures out how to not only play, exist within the team, but then also in a timeout at halftime, be able to communicate strategy adjustments. So if I was picking
yeah.
a
It'll be
team that
interesting
fell
to see.
short, it'd be the Kings.
Be interesting to see actually if that is true now that he's player coaching. It'll be funny to see if his team will believe in him like that. Do you like trust that he'll put his own self interest aside and play for the good of the team? I know he's a great guy and everything, but it'd just be funny to see if that does happen or not.
No, I totally agree. Um, I was fortunate enough to do an interview with him before, right before the draft process, and yeah, he is. Uh, I know that word marketability got thrown around a lot, but I mean, he's
Yeah,
a perfect match for
he's
this league. He's
definitely.
exactly what they're looking for. So I think we'll see big improvements out of the both the Heat and the Kings. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I'd say so.
if we're transitioning now to teams that surprised us, clearly, I don't want to say clearly, Blazers 5 surprised us because they did have uh, one wild walnut was the sixth overall pick. So it's not like
Yeah,
they were scraping players together and made this work like Brad Stevens does. Um,
yeah,
but I mean, a team that I could see sliding who was pretty successful and got into, I think, the semifinals is the Pistons just because
yeah,
of their play style. And personally, I love watching Ramo. I love like he just seems I don't know if it's his build or his archetype, but he just seems so much smoother and in control of
yeah,
his ball movements and his shooting. Like it just looks so smooth and visually appealing. Um,
yeah,
but I mean, something that team is going to have a problem doing is they have a problem scoring points. They only scored 60. They only scored more than 60 points once in all of their games, and
yeah,
I mean, if they can't force the other team to slow down, I think they're gonna have. I think they'll have trouble.
yeah. Speaking of slowing teams down, actually, just while I mention,
Mm-hmm.
I know the Pistons played the Bucks in their first game. I loved seeing that the Bucks and the Pacers. I know the two of them they had similar play styles, but um, just really solid defense, and that's kind of the foundation that they played around. I just thought that was great, and I should mention it.
I do like that, and this is something I wrote about in my article. Like the Bucks were getting compared to the Pacers a lot throughout the week in terms of play style, just like you said.
Yeah,
Um, but the only problem is for the Bucks to be like the Pacers, the small forward, the name I think it's STL is it's a
yeah, STL
long name,
down.
but yeah, STL is the abbreviated. Uh, I mean, they got to have better play from the small forward because it seems like
Yeah,
a small forward is the key to that kind of system to where he can man a guy up and man a guy down outside of his position, kind of like how
yeah,
they deployed Wolf on Dimes on Friday.
yeah. Wolf is a perfect example of the type of player you'd want at that position. I mean, I know he's done that before, even with breakout and pro am before the league even started. He's guarding the other team's primary ball handler or their big man if he's a star. So Wolf is a great player to build around for that type of system. I feel like because he's great offensively. He showed it. He was really good scoring on the inside, and then he's got the defense as well, having played in a lockdown for so long before. So
And
it
if
just
we're
seemed like a perfect fit.
and while we're on that game, that was one of the games I got to watch in person, and I hope the league adjusts this more. I hope they start showing um, inside the studio these players interacting with them across the arena because the way it's set up is if you
Yeah,
picture like the center of a basketball court where they tip the ball off, that's about how big it
yeah,
is. Five guys are on one side, five guys on the other, and there was just so much back and forth between uh, Wolf and Dimes and those two teams. That is something I hope they really get into and they really play up that dynamic because that's not really something that exists in esports. But that would be great for it.
yeah,
Everyone loves trash talk and banter.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Another thing that I liked actually, just kind of close to that, in the Wizards and Jazz game, I just remember this because I thought it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometime during the game, I think it was the second half, they in one of the timeouts they showed what the Jazz were talking about, and they were discussing a
Oh,
play that they'd
really?
want to run. So it was one of the double screens. But I just thought it was really cool seeing how they were all talking about the type of play they'd want to run and stuff like that. I feel like that'd be really cool to see more of in the future games.
Okay, that's awesome. I have to go back and watch at least that sequence because that's not something I saw at all throughout the broadcast. Maybe they just wanted to try it, or maybe they thought like competitive advantage got given away. I don't particularly know, but that's not
Yeah,
something I saw. So I'm actually gonna have to go back and watch that game now. Damn, it's another hour I got to spend
yeah,
watching that game, Thomas.
yeah. That was one of the only ones I saw. It was one of the early ones, so thankfully I got to give it a go.
Yeah, I think universally from all the people who cover this, a team that everyone expects to sort of catapult up like our ridiculous power rankings are the Celtics, and
Yeah,
not just because of Fab and Arsenal. That 2 man game is deadly. That came out of the box ready to go.
yeah,
But I think they have a coaching advantage as well. And Juan, I believe his name is Michael Juan. He got hired late in the process as far as managers and coaches in that position, and
Yeah,
he did something incredibly smart in their game versus the Pacers on Friday. Uh,
yeah,
at the start of the fourth quarter, they started trapping Wolf at half court, and that's brilliant because like his archetype and his position doesn't lend to be a really great ball handler and get in and out of traffic. So they started trapping him and
yeah,
just got steal after steal, and it was just layups. That's what allowed them to pull away. And I think
yeah,
Cody was really regretting not starting Gooner in that game because they could have just gone to him,
yeah,
brought the ball up, and they'd had to get out of the half court trap.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of coaching, by the way, they brought on Rico as their performance coach. I just saw the announcement today.
I
I think
did.
that's another really good addition. I know he worked with them as a draft analyst before, but now he'll be working with them full time as well. So definitely he should help them big time.
That's awesome. I wonder what that means as far as like a. You said his role was his official title is like performance coach or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm almost certain.
Awesome. Well, I mean it's a great hire, and I know yeah he did work with the Celtics during the draft process. Um, so I wonder what his role is going to be on a day to day basis, like what he'll coach up. That's cool. I did see that announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I'm not sure to be honest. I mean, he's got loads of experience in pro am like coaching and analyzing film and that type of stuff. I'd say it'll be something along those lines.
more likely, yeah. Were there any other sort of coaching decisions or anything that stood out to you in a good or a bad way throughout the tournament?
I'm not sure if this is really from a coaching perspective or maybe just from a game plan perspective, but in the Raptors played against the Magic. That was just their one game that I got to see.
Yeah.
But they came out and they ran a post up for most of the game, the majority. And Yusuf was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
He like dominated in the paint, and I just really like seeing that. I know I have a thing. I just like post scoring offenses, but it was great to see them run it so well, and they ran it so often, and it was really like consistent. I know a lot of teams had struggled with retaining leads just because their offense would dry up, whereas with that post play offense and Yusuf in the paint, with his back to the basket every single possession,
Yeah.
they scored constantly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons I like the Raptors so much. We kind of talked about this before we got on. There's just a cluster of teams that are all in the same area with that 1-2 record, and the Raptors is one of them. And I really like the Raptors because just like you, I like that style of play. Put it down low to a center or a power forward and play inside out. Just
Yeah,
because there's a little bit more consistency than some of the other offenses we saw. Plus, I mean, not to get too into like esports terms, but God, I sound like such a douche saying that. But like, I like the non-meta approach or the anti-meta. Just pound that
yeah,
inside and let Yusuf go to work. And since you talked about his breakout performance, let's go into some of the players who stood out who weren't really expected to have such great showings. Yusuf, I would classify as one of them. Yusuf was one of the only centers to straight up give it to one wild walnut, even though they lost the
yeah,
game. Go back and look at the tape, look at the box score. Like he absolutely gave it to that guy.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And also another guy who stood out to me was Vert from the Warriors. I mean, my God, if he didn't score for him, I didn't know who was going to. Like this dude
Uh,
through group play, 27, 9, and 4. Unreal statistics.
yeah, that's unbelievable. Almost as good as Hood's. I was so impressed when I saw the stats he put up. Over the tip off tournament. Well, according to NBA 2K Lab, I got this off their website. He averaged 39 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds.
Yeah, Hood was
And
unbelievable.
I
They even
mean,
did they even did like this ESPN even threw up the side by side of him and LeBron James to give us some perspective
oh
like
yeah,
how well LeBron is playing. I thought that was really cool. That was awesome.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think a lot of us are surprised that Dimes had a 50-point game, especially given
yeah,
the opponent. But I mean, it's good he
yeah,
played well just from a branding perspective for the league. You want the number one overall pick to have a dynamic personality and to be able to back it up on the floor. And him going for 51, and I think it was his second or third game against Grizz was important. while they blew that team out, it's
Yeah,
important that he plays well.
yeah, definitely. And it kind of adds up to all the hype. Obviously he's the number one pick, so he's the face of the league. It's good to see him do well, even from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I know we'll get into this, but I was looking ahead to some matchups during regular season play. In week
Yeah.
2, the first game of Saturday, we get another matchup, Fab versus Dimes. We get that one again, and hopefully
Oh,
the Celtics don't. I felt so bad for them choking that thing away at the very end. But I mean,
yeah,
it's the tip off tournament. I mean, they'll learn from that.
yeah. I feel like if anything, there's a big learning curve for a lot of these teams. I know, like they've had less time to strategize and work on game plans, and even just work on their own like identity, kind of
Yeah, and some
what
people
type of
didn't
basketball they want to play.
exactly. And some people didn't even have their full team in the United States until 3 days before
Yeah,
the tournament started. So while it was great, it's not exactly the most accurate depiction of offensive sets, production, things like that. I think we're going to see
yeah,
drastic increases in play from the tournament to this Friday and Saturday.
yeah, yeah. I'd say so.
I know we're going to do a little bit of previews. Uh,
Yeah,
Sadly, the matches in week 1, a lot of them could be blowouts or fairly one-sided. By my count, there are only
yeah,
3 games that I'm super interested in watching. Knicks Warriors.
yeah,
I like the Knicks. They're a really well balanced team in terms of their scoring and their
yeah,
production. Uh, and one of their losses came to the Wizards, but the Wizards hit
yeah.
15 threes in that game. Like they took
Yeah,
31
15
three
for
pointers,
31, wasn't it? Hey,
15 of 31, and the Knicks only lost by 5. I saw that, and I'm thinking,
yeah,
okay, like Knicks are a good team. Like that's a total fluke that they lost that game. The
yeah,
Wizards didn't hit more than like 7 or 8 threes the rest of the way. So I like Knicks
yeah,
Warriors. It'll be interesting to see how the backcourt for the Warriors bounces back after having a disappointing showing in the
yeah,
tournament. I know Sean,
yeah.
since he was their first round pick, he's going to get a lot of grief for that. But their point guard, his name escapes me right now. Their point guard wasn't playing
Like a
much
pro.
better. Yes, exactly. Yeah, like as a whole, they got to give Vert some support.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that way. I mean, like a pro, he may have been their fifth round pick, but he's still really, really talented. I mean, everyone in the pro community knows him, so he can definitely perform a lot better than he did in the tournament
Yeah, and I
for
mean,
sure.
it's crazy. Like he has a lot of pressure for a fifth round pick. Any late round pick who's playing point guard has a lot of pressure on them. I think Gooner was also a fifth
Yeah,
round pick. Those guys,
he was
even though
fourth.
they're
Yeah,
even though they're fifth round picks, like they play arguably the most important position. They're going to initiate a ton of
yeah,
this offense for their team. They're going to have to score. Um, so yeah, a lot of pressure on him. The second
yeah,
matchup I'm interested in watching is Jazz Kings. Not only because I want to see how the
yeah,
Kings rebound from their performance in the tournament, but also because the
yeah,
Jazz are a good team, and I just want to
yeah,
see that should be one of the more competitive games.
yeah. I really liked what I saw out of the Jazz. I know I only saw one or two of their games, but from what I've seen, I feel like they could be a really good team this season.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to also get another Jazz game. The third and final game on my games to watch is Cavs versus Jazz. We get a matchup, a rematch of the quarterfinals from last Saturday. And I believe the Jazz
Yeah,
lost by 1 point. And if you can keep pace
yeah,
with a team like the Cavs and Hood, who can just put up crazy amounts of points, you're in really good
yeah,
shape. So I'm interested to see how they approach guarding him in that game.
yeah, yeah. That'll be exciting. Again, what do you think is the strategy for guarding a point guard who's so explosive like that? Like,
I
I mean,
don't
he can go off whenever he wants to, really.
I don't know. I mean, let's look at this. So here are his numbers through group play: 41 2 and 8, 23 5 and 4. That's what he was held to. The Bucks held him to 23 5 and 4.
Yeah,
Um, 46 4 and 7, and then in their playoff game he had 46 10 and 7. So I don't know. Um, I guess they could try what the Pacers tried with LeBron and just let him score 60 and see if anyone else can do anything. But
yeah,
I don't really know. I mean, that's why they're the coaches and they're the managers. They're smarter than I am, so they'll figure out something to work.
yeah. Yeah, that I'm actually looking forward to seeing that now. Will teams come up with a strategy to stop superstar scorers like that?
I mean, I'm sure they're going to try, but unless you have, you know, a guy on a guy you drafted to really just be that defensive anchor, I don't know how successful they can be with any strategy, really. And
Yeah,
then the last thing I want to talk about, uh, parts of social media were going off, and I know it was I didn't watch too much of the chat just because you'll get your life ruined if you try to talk in the
yeah.
NBA
Oh
2K
god.
chat on Twitch. Um, I don't get why people think there was so much like five and out. That's
Yeah,
hardly what we saw at all. Just because teams go to it like in a pinch or trying to like throw a change up at the other team, like I don't get why people equate that with, oh, it's all five and out. I mean, I
yeah. I mean, even Chris Smoove, who's obviously he's really well known. He's a YouTuber and everything, but he tweeted out saying that the league is all five out, and I didn't want to be rude and question him, but like really, it wasn't five out from what I saw. And hardly there was maybe three or four teams that ran it consistently,
yeah,
but
I mean,
other than that, I didn't see much of it.
and the best part is like if you watch the championship game, the two teams that made it all the way, that's not what they were running at all. Especially the Sixers.
Yeah,
I mean, the Sixers were they never stopped moving and
yeah,
like rotating the ball and rotating spots. Like that was quality basketball on any level. Um,
yeah, yeah, I
and
agree.
it's probably just a misconception. Like someone like you or me could have just watched one game and then they see like two of the three five out teams play each other or something
Yeah,
like that. Um, so I think it's something that it'll just get corrected with time. I don't think it's anything that they can really
yeah.
do anything about.
It's good to see that it's predominantly not five out because I know a lot of people were concerned with, will the five out pro am meta carry into the 2K league? But it's good to see that they've already stopped doing that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was a concerted effort on these coaches and managers to not allow that team to fall into like just fall back into five out. I'm sure they were really pushing sets and things like that. Not just because they work, but also if we want this league to succeed, there has to be a visually appealing product on display. And five out isn't always
Yeah,
the most intriguing thing to watch, even if a guy breaks the other guy
yeah,
down. Awesome. Well, hey man, thank you for joining me. I know we're going to try to do this every week throughout the season.
yeah,
Um, I'm excited. I can't wait. Now I can actually watch most of the games. I don't have to watch 34 games of NBA 2K now to stay up to date. So, uh,
yeah.
thank you for coming on, Thomas. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.